Yenni has 25% more stamps than John. If Yenni loses 676 stamps, she will have 1 out of 6 as many stamps as John. How many stamps do they have all together? All right, so for this question, we see a percentage here, and this percentage is like a comparison between Yenni and John. Okay, there's a more here, more than. Okay, then we have a change, and in the end, we have a fraction given to us. Now, notice this fraction is a comparison between two persons. Okay, so this 1 unit, okay, will be, of course, referring to her, Yenni. 6 units refers to John. All right, so this fraction, once you know it's like a comparison between two people like that, you can consider writing this as a ratio. Right, so notice, a lot of questions involving fractions and percentage, if they are comparison, like fraction and percentage is comparing between two people, we can usually convert that to a ratio quite easily. Then just identify our common base from there. Okay, and same for this percentage. Yenni has 25% more than John. Now, take note, when you have the word more than, okay, you always have to treat the person behind at the end of the sentence as the 100%. Okay, so John in this case will be your 100%. So he's like the foundation, he's like the base. He's like the base point of our comparison to work with the percentage later on. All right, so even if I change this phrase to less than, Yenni is 25% less than John, same thing, John will always be 100% in this case because John is after the word more than or less than. Okay, so whoever appears at the end is your 100% in such statements. Now, can we write down a ratio for this? Yes, we can definitely, because this percentage is comparing between two of them. All right, so let's proceed to write down a ratio. Now, if you notice this whole thing, I can use ratio, and I also can incorporate before change after method because we have a before ratio. So have a visual, visual picture in mind of how you're going to record down your data. If you read through the question, you realize that, okay, a ratio in the before part, a change that involves a value, after section that involves like the ratio as well. Okay, so you have a ratio in the before, you have a ratio in the after, you have a value for the change. Then you can later easily work things out if you use before, change, after. All right. Okay, so let's do the ratio first. Now, Yenni is 25% more than this 100%. That means Yenni has 125%. Right? So if you just write 25 here, it's wrong because she has 25% more than the guy. So she has 125%. Percentage sign you do not have to write down because both are in percentages. You just omit it in ratio. Now let's simplify this ratio, 5:4. Okay, easier to work with. So if you can simplify, try to simplify. Now, Yenni losing 76 stamps. So draw an arrow to show the change. Yenni minus 676. She lost, so it's minus. Again, I can have a Y to J ratio in the end. So Yenni will be this 1 unit. John will have this 6 units here. So 1:6. Done. Okay, so first round of recording your data finished. Okay, I've completed that. Next thing is look at your ratios. Notice you have 2 sets of ratios. So definitely you are going to expect a common base. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have used the word definitely because in some of such situations, there may be no common base. But for this, most likely we have a common base because only Yenni has a change. John doesn't have change. There's no change for John. So I hope that gives you a clue on what should be your common base between these two be. Okay, so since there's no change for John, all right, that means your John stamps should remain the same. Remains unchanged, remains the same throughout. All right, so John, if we look at his 4 units here versus John here 6 units, 4 and 6, I am going to try to make them the same number, which will be 12 if you think of lowest common multiple, 12 and 12. Underline your common base every time once it's done. Okay, it visually tells you that I've completed my common base. I'm ready to move on. All right, so things, small details like that, do keep it in mind and take action of it. All right, so this is done. Now, common base done. Next thing is always look at the usable value that's provided in the question, which of course is your 676. This is called the usable value. And this usable value, I am going to figure out how many units is this. Okay, I want to figure out how many units is this, 676. Now, of course, to do that, that means this is the change for Yenni, which also means that I will need to focus on Yenni, Yenni. Don't care about John already. Okay, moving forward, you want to work with 676, just focus on Yenni alone. So if you look at Yenni's before, she had 15 units at the start, right? Never ever use back the 125 because you do common base between these two ratios. You have established these two new ratios as a family together already. Okay, that means whatever value of 1 unit comes from here would be the same value as the 1 unit from here. So make sure you use the latest units that you have transformed them into. All right, so look at the 15 units and these 2 units here. All right, so how come from 15 units she suddenly dropped to 2 units only? It must be because she lost units, right? So the units that she lost, of course, corresponds to the 676. Okay, so that means the change will be 15 minus this 2, which also means this 13 units is your 676 that she lost. Right, so these are things you can write down. 13 units 676, of course, find 1 unit from there. Once you found 1 unit, everything is pretty simple. Every time you found 1 unit already, read back the question again, the final question, to see what they require. How many stems do they have all together? Now, some of you might be wondering, okay, the question did not specify. Do they want all together at the start or do they want all together at the end? I'm confused. All right, so how do we know? You have to reread the whole question and you will notice that this word if. When there's an if, means this whole thing, this whole change did not really happen. So if it did not really happen, means the altogether, you should be looking at the one in the beginning, the original one. Okay, so altogether, you have to add these 2 units first, 15 plus 12u. Like I said, use the newest units, don't use the old one here. And of course, find the value of your 27 units, 27 times 52. All right, so that's it.